good Sunday afternoon. We are live. This is Mary Knysh. She's playing she's got the raw or the hong drum. And I'm just going to be quiet and let you listen to this for a bit. Feel free to sing along.
Sunday, oh, bye bye bye. Hi, oh, nae. Hande, oh, my. Say, arude, arude, arudada. Hararararude. Hi, Sharon.
Hey, Mary. It's like, this is just so awesome. We could, thank you so much for coming on. Listen,
Sharon,
so
my pleasure.
Mary, we've been along this path for a long
30 years.
time. Wow. I just saw I have a picture of you from graduation class from years ago, actually.
Oh, wow.
I'll have to send that. I had it on at the grad lounge.
You
But
will?
anyway,
A long time ago.
yeah, no, it was a long time. I think it was with Lee was there, and
Yep.
I mean, it was a whole Lee, Ariana, the whole group of
Oh,
anyway.
cool.
Yeah, it was great. I'll send that picture to you. Anyway, for those of you joining us, this is Mary Knysh. Mary is a longtime music for people aficionado, and she's now kind of running the whole thing.
Sort of running it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good people, though. There's self-included.
This is a team.
It's
This is really a team.
Indeed, a team.
And so I want to ask, Mary, would you just, a lot of people will be coming, may or may not be coming to this workshop. We would just want to tell people about this. We get the word out about music for people. How did you come into this? And what for you has kept you in this for so long?
Yeah.
Not that that's a long time.
Such a good question. You make it sound like so long.
Well, for
30
me,
years.
30
is
years.
So long.
I mean,
It's a long time. I've been an educator for longer than that, for 4 decades. And I was really looking for an innovative way to approach teaching music in the classroom. And also for myself, because I played a lot of different instruments, I was looking for other people that I could improvise with. So I met David Darling. Gosh, it's been more than 30 years now. He did a concert, and I was so inspired by what he played. And when I found out it was completely improvised, I was like, wow, this is perfect. This is just what I need. So I had also run across Paul Winter at an ORF conference, and he had the music educators in Denver. It was just decades ago, and he had the music educators howling like wolves in the chapel. And I was like, oh, this is my kind of guy. Count me in. And then I met David probably about 2 months afterwards. And so I was already working with some people that knew David and had been in the early days of music for people. And so that was my introduction. And when I met David, for me, it was absolutely the pathway into, for myself, making music in this holistic way that was really expressive and included my whole body. And improvisation is just such a beautiful way to tap into what we have to say in the language of music. And then I found out that I could use it. I was teaching at the time, and I started to bring all of the tools into the classroom, and I saw the kids respond in this incredible way. I went, oh my goodness, this is just so cool. Yeah. And so watching them grow and trying, every time I went to a weekend, I'd come back and I'd try everything out with them. So it was great. I had pre-K to 6th grade at that time.
Yeah. And I've done it with kind of grade 4 up through 8 and into high school and university students as well, as that worked at a music camp. So both in the US and I'm in Canada.
Yeah.
Improvisation is on the curriculum. We're supposed to do it. It's everywhere. And for most people, when they hear the word improvisation,
they panic.
Most panic. And they think jazz. And they think I have to learn changes. And I have to learn. So can you talk about how we approach music improvisation? Because we do use jazz forms. And we do a lot of that. Yeah. And
What I found so beautiful about the way it addressed improvisation for education, I was doing Karl Orff. I was doing Orff Schulwerk, which I've been doing for many years. And at the time, I was observing what Orff was doing as far as creating, they'd open little holes, which was great, little places that the kids could improvise. But once I went to Music for People, I saw that they didn't have to have a Bourdon or an ostinato that was already pre-planned. The kids could create their own. Mm-hmm. And so for me, though that idea that it was really emergent from the students across the board, that I could give them the freedom completely with simple structures, that they could begin to learn to improvise together. So I think for me it was the structures. Sing what you play, play what you sing, that they internalized. And Karl Orff did that as well. That was a big part of Orff Schulwerk. You speak it in the rhythmic patterns, etc. David Darling with Music for People took it into melody and sirening, that you sirened up on the voice and siren down, so that the kids really got used to vocally having sung all of the possible intervals and the microtonal intervals in between the notes. Yeah. I used it a lot for warm-ups. I used it a lot for having the kids create their own ostinatos and then their own stories. I would say instead of a solo, they were telling a story in sound. And that made perfect sense to them. And what I saw emerging during those classes with all ages was that they were becoming amazing independent music makers. And then they wanted to write it down. You know, they would create a piece, love it, and consequently they were learning the mechanics of music notation in that backdoor method of like whole language, but whole music.
Exactly. And I'll just pull one thing up, because this is really, sometimes when we teach a concept or teach jazz improvisation, we'll say, okay, here is this structure, play these 3 notes.
Yes.
And we start with the blues, and you do that kind of form. And eventually there's some kind of inner drive that comes out, and you can play around with that. Yes. What we do in Music for People, as you were just describing, I just wanted to pull it out, is that it was coming from the inside. It was like this trust that the kids are okay. The kids have this music. We all, and adults have this music in us.
Exactly.
And this is Music for People really trusts and believes deeply that the music is in us, and we need to.
And the job is to educe it. I say education. Yeah, the root of the word education is to educe. And to educe the genius from our students. And believe that it's there. And so I always tell educators, I said, you got to walk in the class and you got to say, I know each and every one of you is full of music. And my job is to create a pathway for you to discover the music that's inside of you. And I think that's what David did for us.
Oh, absolutely. He created, and we continue to do this. It's a chalice or a vessel or a space where it's safe and where there's no judgment and there are no wrong notes, and we listen more deeply, and we go with, here's this, let's follow this along. So for teachers coming in, and we both come from education background, and I'm classically trained, and we have a certain thing that we learn, or class age, whatever we are. For educators coming to a Music for People workshop, can you talk about how they come in and what they might, what that might help them with? What is it we do with them? What do we do with them?
I wanted to approach, first of all, one of the things two things that I say is you are full of music, and also the neuroplasticity. I think the other thing that's important to educators is something going on, is something shifting in improvisation. And if it is, what is it? And so the research that's come out in the last 10 years for neuroplasticity actually changes in the brain, the connectors between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. The 4 primary pathways are making music is number 1, movement. And so we do a lot of movement. You'll explore ways that we get into our sound. Creative play. And I love that the research did what David has always done. It's the attitude of, we don't know what's going to happen. And we discover and go, wow. And so it's playing like a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old. So there are no wrong ways to do it, that everything is accepted. And the game is yes, and where can we go with this? So you'll learn structures for that. Making music, movement, creative play, and numinous experience, changing the brain, where you have an experience where many create as one. And improvisation is that, because students will sit together, or you'll learn how to pull an ensemble together. And we love the idea that people let it go and clear the space, so we fall into our authentic selves, we release and drop into presence. So we're here. So this is also beautiful for mindfulness for your students as well, and you. So we're here and we're listening to each other. And somebody might start a simple idea. Maybe I say a little sound story like bum bo do day, sa da doom ba, and then they'll catch an idea and keep repeating it, so it becomes an ostinato. Bum ba do day, bum ba do day.
Let's do that. So I'm going to now be in this workshop with you,
and we'll have the lag time, but that's okay. It'll be fun.
That's
we can
okay.
see.
We've figured this out.
So what I love, Sharon, is it's emergent. And so we didn't have a planned ostinato. It emerged from a short story. So again, if I just go bum ba da bay ba ba da dum, bum ba da day, bum ba da day, then that's my ostinato da da day. I send it to Sharon and she tells a story over my ostinato. I support her. Bum ba da day, 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 bum ba da day. When Sharon's story's done, then she lands on the support part and sends it back to me. And we go back and forth, or we can have a musical conversation, which we call babbling. So, and my favorite thing is to have the kids then, they can do this as beginner recorder players or beginner ukulele. So any instrument that they're learning, they can begin to babble and they start to get articulation. And vocally, it's so fun because now we're getting the full expression of music as a language. And I like to have the kids then translate. So you could have two babble and then two translators. Say, well, I'm so-and-so. So we say, we're from Mars. So there's all kinds of ways to keep it fun, engaging, active. And so we're learning all of the core elements of music. Ostinato, how to keep a rhythmic part, steady beat, how to play a solo, all of the core curricular areas that you need to touch on. I say, music educators, you can do this in a really fun, really engaging way.
And you don't have to come around, and we don't come around and say, okay, this is an ostinato. We're good. This is what an ostinato is. It's complete engagement in that. And what I found when I was teaching middle school band, grade 7, 8 band,
yes,
I would take this right at their very beginning beginning notes. If they could play a note, even on the mouthpiece,
yes,
we did articulate. We could play these articulation games, and they learned all of this stuff with no interference, without being told it was hard, or it was this, or it was double tonguing, or it was whatever it was. We learned all the rhythms without them having to be told what it was. It was completely from the inside out.
Immersive. So it's experiential education. It's learning in an experiential manner, which is how neuroscientists say we learn. It is the best pathway. So when I've worked with lately, I've been talking about the 4 C's of 21st century learning. And I think, we are in an ensemble. I feel like we're learning lifelong skills. So we're learning music and all of the particulars about the language of music, but we're also learning these lifetime skills of how do we listen to each other? How do we connect, imitate, and connect and find common ground in sound? How do we communicate with each other? And then how do we collaborate and create? And the 4 C's are critical thinking. So we're constantly going, Do we need more silence? Do I need to listen more? Oh, where am I going with this? Creativity, collaboration, and communication. And all of it is happening in real time, in fun engagement. And there's just no better way to learn. So I think that's what I discovered early on, and just have been doing it for 30 years with music, for 30 plus years. And it's always new. The other thing for a class is you have I say it's an infrastructure for your class. So you know what this, you're going to do these structures, you have an idea, but then you're hanging the students' ideas on, if you had a frame of a house, you're taking their ideas, and every class is different because it really is a signature in sound of the group that you have. And the group knows that they have buy-in because they're creating, and they come to the class and go, yeah, we got a part of this. This is our music.
And I think there's a fifth C in all of this as well.
Yes.
That's community.
Community. And that's,
and music. And so I'm going to ask you to talk about, we could both music for people, community. And I'll just say that I've been hosting a lounge for the grads for almost a year now, every Friday night. Yep. And whereas we would normally maybe see each other once or twice a year, maybe not for a couple of years. We've been meeting, and it just that 2-hour meeting has created an extraordinary community of support that was already there.
Yes.
Because we've been with this. So that's been our experience, extending our training, because we've all graduated from the program. We've been together really for 20 years or more, many of us.
Yes.
And have created a deeper community. I don't know what we're going to do when we get together. I mean, the hugs are going to be crazy. Can you talk about the music people? Because you have now, Music People is now outreached into how many, 12 different countries
all over the world. Yeah.
And it's all over the world. Can you talk about that Music for People community that we are welcoming more people into, and they need to know that it's there?
And the beauty is it's inclusive. We embrace everybody from everywhere. And whether you have no experience at all or tons of experience and you're a professional musician, everybody's welcome. So the community, we started here in the States, and then we started mostly East Coast, but then we had people all over this country, in the US, and then Canada. We're so happy to have our neighbors, Canadian neighbors.
Yeah, there's a pocket in Quebec. Because Monique started that.
We've got people out in Vancouver. In Western.
A couple in Vancouver. There are 2 grads in Ontario.
Yep. So we're kind of spread. And then I've been working overseas. We had a program, have had for 20 years, a training, musicianship and leadership training program in Europe. So we work with a lot of educators, music educators over there as well, in Switzerland. But then from that, we've had pockets. So I've been doing workshops in Denmark and Italy and Spain. And we've been up to Norway doing workshops. And all over Asia as well, Japan and China and Singapore and Australia, and there's pockets everywhere. So when COVID happened, this disconnect of everybody, we were just like, oh my God, the isolation. Early on, you were doing the grad lounge, and what I did was I went, I've got all these, I was supposed to be traveling during all that time. And so we started an experiment called Fill Your Home with Music. And we thought, can we take all these tools and connect the disconnected in a musical way? And will it work, even with a lag time on Zoom? And what was amazing was it worked. And we kept finding things that worked. And there were a lot of things that didn't, like drumming together.
We found everything that doesn't work. I know.
Yeah. And educators were really looking for ways also to teach virtually. And so we were starting to figure out, here are things that you can take to your classroom and share with teachers. So here's a fun, engaging way to teach, that the kids are involved and are engaged. So that's
a way to teach online. Here we figured out what is not going to work on your Zoom classroom or whatever Google Classroom. It's not going to work. It's just clunky. Yes. But here are some things that really can work, and we can teach you how to make those adjustments.
How to adapt and adjust. And that's one thing on February 20th that we will you'll learn. If you come and you're an educator, you will learn wonderful, easy tools that we know work because we've been doing them since March.
And here's a great thing about us as improvisers. We were talking about this on Friday, that as improvisers, as trained improvisers, where we've trained to listen deeply, to
Yes.
open up space, to include, to bring in,
And to support.
to support.
Yeah.
I mean, in this past year, what life skills have they been? So I think, in many ways, we've been able to adapt to the terrain we're in, whatever terrain we're in. All right, let's just try this, and we find what doesn't work, and we
Yep.
try something else. We've got these skills built into us now, and
Yes.
trained and built into us for so long, that
Yes.
over this whole year we've been able to adapt and improvise, and
Right.
and in a way thrive in many ways through this, because
Exactly.
we have that.
Funny, we didn't know if you could feel connected making music, in this way. And what we discovered at the end of those sessions was it was as brilliantly connected and fed us in the same way. We needed to have that connection and that community. And I think, Sharon, it really is about community. And a classroom is a community.
Whether
And
it's online or
exactly. It doesn't matter. It's a community that's inclusive, and you embrace all styles of learners. And learning music in this way is a fabulous way to be
it's so much
inclusive.
it's so much fun.
And it's so much fun, and it's so engaging. I just say it's experiential learning, which is the best way the brain learns. And there's
So
such
much.
simple tools to take improvisation out of the jazz mind and break it down into take a breath and make a sound. Just being in your sound, that simple. And then find pulse and tap into it. And in train, you find each other. So these paving the way, I like to say, it's paving an accessible way for everyone to play, everyone to make music. And they are wonderfully easy structures, accessible for any age. I've adapted them down to babies. I use a lot. David Darling did
And
a
for
lot with
seniors,
babies. And
and for the elder.
all across, all the way to Alzheimer's and dementia and seniors, and using the same core skills. And the same getting into an attitude, no matter where you are in your life, that wonder can still happen, that and that changes the brain. So they say, the minute you're in a state of awe that is possibly, you don't know what's going to happen, it changes the brain.
I remember David talking about watching, and this was so prescient for me, but watching, it's like watching a class of kindergarten kids coming into an
Yes.
auditorium, and there's something on the stage,
Yeah. And they're
and they're walking in their little lines, and they're walking this way, but their heads are this way, looking
yep,
out, going,
just going,
just, and the teacher's trying to corral them so we don't have this.
it's
But
so
it is that,
true.
can't believe what,
It's
really, we get to
as
do,
as a teaching artist for young audiences, I that's how I
and
would
you've got
start.
all your stuff on the stage.
I had all my stuff and a loop. So when they came in, there was already music, and they come in and just go, and it's so cool,
It
so
is,
already you've got them. and
exactly.
and again, the biggest gift I feel like we have to offer as music educators is to have students know that they're full of music, and to give them some pathways in, some easy ways to discover that. That's a lifelong skill. They can be making and creating music for the rest of their lives. So I say we create lifelong learners in this process.
Awesome. And with that, so thank you so much, Mary. I
My
know, I mean, this
pleasure.
is always so good to be able to talk about this with somebody. And I know somebody out there is going to go, "Oh, that's for me."
Great. Well,
We
we would
have
love
an
to
early
have you
bird
join.
registration. What's that?
We would love to have you join
Oh,
us.
man. Yeah, we've got early bird registration till February
Yeah,
1st. If you're listening to this before the 1st, it's sliding scale. We want to make it accessible and
we
manageable
got to
for everybody. Musicforpeople.org. Please let people know. We'd love to have you
spread the word.
yeah,
Join us. It's a lot of
join
fun.
us. Thanks very much, Mary.
Thanks,
Thank you
Sharon. Thanks,
so much.
everybody.
Take care. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.